The Truth Girls.
Well, we know this is going to be interesting.
Hi everyone. I wanted to talk to you about Obama. Some of the stuff I'm going to tell you about might sound really, really far out.
Oh, that's the far out stuff we're going to be talking about. I getcha. I getcha. By the title of your channel, I thought we'd be talking about something crazy, like, I don't know, Obama's birth certificate, and how he's born in Kenya and he's a Muslim atheist or something like that. I getcha. Far out.
But hear me out because I think there could really be something to this. So I'm going to first of all start with the stuff you probably already know about, and then I'm going to get into some of the other stuff. So first of all, there's the birth certificate. I mean, you know, officially he was born in Hawaii, but then his nana said he was born in Kenya, and that started this whole thing.
This whole argument is based around a phone conversation that is alleged to have happened between the Anti-Baptist bishop Ron McRae, in which he calls Sarah Obama, President Obama's step-grandmother, who lives in Kenya, in which he allegedly, again, no records, no recording, no core recording, only transcripts in which he releases. No recording whatsoever. And this is what he asks her. Quote, "I would like to see his birthplace when I come to Kenya in December. Was she present when he was born in Kenya?" That question drips with fucking bias. There's no way you can look at that question and go, that's a very, level question that has no bias whatsoever. Fuck you. If you honestly take that seriously, you can believe anything. You are stupid enough to believe any and everything.
After the White House released Obama's supposed long-form birth certificate, the Sheriff Joe Arpaio of Maricopa County was asked by citizens to investigate this thing. Well, he hired this document analyzer expert, Reed Hayes, to look at this birth certificate, and Mr. Hayes said without a doubt it was a forgery.
Reed Hayes is a document analyzer at the National Association of Document Analyzers, believe it or not. NAID for short is one of a bunch of different organizations that verifies documents. But it isn't really the most well-respected or well-known organization for document analysis. The most well-known is the Association of Question Document Examiners, the ASQDE. See, the difference between NAID and ASQDE is they have ASQDE has a higher organization that has a large amount of tests in which someone has to go through to be able to verify that they can analyze documents. This organization is known as the American Board of Forensic Document Examiners, or ABFDE. It's important to know this because you can look at both of their trying mechanisms to see if the people that they have on board are actually professional document analyzers and have a high level of skill. And if you look at the difference between the ABFDE requirements and NAID's requirements, it's vastly different. Okay, so just by those two accounts alone, it's pretty damning evidence because, I mean, the requirements for NAID aren't very strict. And if you look into it even further, Reed Hayes didn't actually look at a piece of paper, the piece of paper document of President Obama's birth certificate. What he did look at was the PDF file on the whitehouse.org website. So you're claiming that this guy who, yeah, he is a document analyzer, give you that. He is a document analyzer with an organization with not extremely high standards. They're still an organization and they still have some credibility, but not the highest amount of credibility. And on top of that, they also I mean, he didn't actually look at a piece of paper. He actually didn't look at a signed birth certificate. He looked at a copy of a birth certificate. How can you analyze handwriting on a PDF file? I don't think that's the best evidence for Obama not having a legitimate birth certificate. Sorry.
Okay, but I'm not here to have like a big birther discussion with you about...
Wait. What? You just gave evidence claiming that Obama didn't have a birth certificate and wasn't born in the United States. So, if you're not going to be talking about Obama's birth certificate, why exactly were you talking about Obama's birth certificate? I think that's a weird way. I mean, if you're going to do some weird topic, I mean, if you're not going to be talking about something crazy like that, then I don't have a problem with it. You can talk about whatever you want. But, I mean, if you're not going to be making any more crazy claims like Obama's, a Muslim fucking atheist living in Kenya or something like that, then, I mean, hey, fucking whatever. That's cool. Whatever. Let bygones be bygones. If you're not going to say anything crazy else. So, cool. I'm done here, I guess.
CIA DNA test reveals Barack Obama was adopted.
Well, I guess I was wrong. That was a bit of a crazy claim. Not gonna lie, bit of a crazy claim that Obama's mother actually isn't his mother, but he was adopted. That's pretty crazy. And I love the citation you give. You give a citation to a website by the name of www.obamaconspiracies.org. Really? Do you honestly believe that that is a reliable, unbiased site for information about the president? Okay. You know what? Cool. That's fine. I guess it, as long as the information is reliable, then that's fine. So they say on this website that the CIA did a DNA test revealing that President Obama doesn't have DNA matching his mother or his grandparents on his mother's side. And this website, obamaconspiracy.org, gives a citation to Ed Skull's show forums, in which an anonymous user posts a quote from a source that isn't disclosed. Or at least the website doesn't exist anymore. So, again, not very reliable sources. So you're quoting a source from obamaconspiracy.org, which got its source from a forum, from an anonymous user that posts on a forum, in which his link goes to a website that is no longer operational. Pretty sure the CIA website is still up. So if he was, posting information from the CIA, I would assume that he would at least post where he got the information in the CIA. So at least it appears to me that this information has come from someone's ass.
I recently found out from Janet Phelan, investigative reporter, that Obama has people following him around, picking up any traces of his DNA that might be left behind, as in little bits of hair or saliva on a glass. So for some reason, they're very careful to make sure that nobody gets hold of his DNA.
Believe it or not, I know the name of the profession when you go around and pick things up for people. It's called being a maid. Maids go around the house and clean things.
Freeman says Obama is a clone of an Egyptian pharaoh.
What the fuck? Are you fucking shitting me? Really? Really? You honestly fucking believe... Okay, being a birther is fucking crazy. This is above and fucking beyond. This is above fucking Buzz Lightyear and fucking into infinity and beyond with fucking insanity is this horseshit. What the fuck?
When you look at King Akhenaton, he does bear an uncanny resemblance to Obama. And this is King Akhenaton's wife, who happens to look like Michelle Obama. And the daughters of King Akhenaton and his wife look strangely similar to the daughters of Barack and Michelle Obama.
Okay, I know to some people out there, they think all fucking Africans look the same. But they don't. There are a lot of fucking nuances in between peoples. Okay, now in your out of focus, blurry, fucking light infused picture of Akhenaton, I'm sure you could kind of make out Obama to someone who hasn't seen a lot of African people. And I didn't really see it all that much at first. Okay. This is fucking Akhenaton. You know, if you look up Akhenaton, he has like a longer face than President Obama. He has bigger lips than President Obama. If you actually want to compare them, you know, Akhenaton, Obama, if you really want to compare them, Akhenaton has like a longer face and a thinner nose and a longer nose ridge and smaller eyes and bigger lips, while President Obama, he does have a bit of a longer face, but he doesn't have as long a face as the statue of Akhenaton does, and he has a bit of a wider nose and a bit smaller nose ridge and a bit thinner lips than Akhenaton does and a bit bigger eyes than Akhenaton does. And, oh, I don't know, he has fucking Kenyan descent and not Egyptian descent! Yeah. She fucking believes this shit. She believes this! And don't worry, folks, gets fucking crazier. Don't worry, we're not at the fucking pit of crazy. It gets worse!
So, you know, maybe they were all cloned from the DNA of this Egyptian pharaoh and his family, and that's why he's not related to his supposedly biological mother and her parents.
Okay. Akhenaton was pharaoh of Egypt over 3,500 years ago. Okay? And he was mummified, meaning all of the water was taken out of his body. Generally, when you take the water out of something, everything will shrivel up on the inside, including the DNA and RNA, the stuff that makes proteins that will eventually make a person, at least kind of, you know, hormones play a higher role in development, but whatever, you know, we're not on that right now. We're talking about DNA not being able to survive over 3,500 years of mummification. It just wouldn't fucking happen, believe it or not. The only way in which it could happen as if, like, what happened to, if somehow DNA could, like, survive in his teeth or his bones, but that's, you know, kind of unlikely, you know, because that stuff also starts wearing down, you know, if there's no liquid in the system. You know, it preserves, like, the skin, kind of, and it kind of keeps the shape. It preserves the shape of the body, but not the DNA very well. But here's the other thing. You say that Obama, his wife, and his two little girls are clones. Akhenaton had more than 2 daughters. The most famous of his children would eventually grow up to be Pharaoh. His name was Pharaoh Tutankhamun. You know, the one that everyone, you know, raved about because his tomb wasn't robbed after he died. He had a completely full tomb that no one had grave robbed. You know, Akhenaton was Tutankhamun's son or father. So, I mean...
And another really weird thing about Obama is that he's Rh negative. Not only is he Rh negative, but every president since Eisenhower has been Rh negative, and also an awful lot of Hollywood celebrities, like all the musicians from the late 1960s, 1970s, like peak of the rock era, Mick Jagger, Jimi Hendrix, Jim Morrison, Janis Joplin, oh, even Charles Manson, John Lennon.
Okay, just because Obama has a weird blood type, which, when you look at it, isn't that weird. Rh is a protein that is in the blood. If you're Rh positive, you have this protein. If you're Rh negative, you don't have this protein. Among Caucasians, the percentage is about 15-16%. What you will cite later is that sub-Saharan Africans aren't generally Rh negative. You know, it's 1 in 3,600 or something along those lines. Now, see, most of the time, okay, let's do a little history lesson here. Black slaves that came to the United States were generally from what my history teacher refers to as the armpit of Africa. This armpit is the reason we got our slaves there, is because it was the closest to the United States. You could just go there and back. Obama's heritage is not from sub-Saharan Africa. His heritage is Kenyan, which is not the same as West Africa. West Africans, South Africans, North Africans, and East Africans are very different. There is a lot of variation among those peoples. Now, just because it is, and now let's cite, okay, we know his heritage is from Eastern Africa. Now let's throw all of that out. Let's say that just for the sake of argument, that his heritage is actually West African, which is what this site talks about. Just because it's rare doesn't mean it's impossible that he has Rh negative blood type. And then, with another layer on top of that, there's no evidence anywhere suggesting that he has Rh negative blood type, at least that I could find. Now, even if he does, so what? Even if he was West African, which he isn't, so what? And, I mean, it's like you're stating statistics for something that's already happened. The likelihood, yeah, ooh, likelihood. But it happened. It happened. It doesn't matter what the likelihood is now. It happened. Sorry.
You know who else was Rh negative? The Egyptian pharaohs. Well, a lot of them, including King Akhenaton.
So your whole reason for believing this, that the president is a clone of Akhenaton, is because he has Rh negative blood type. You're kidding me, right? That's your whole fucking reason. Okay. Let's say that let's say for the sake of argument that he is Western African, and that, the likelihood for having Rh negative among Western Africans is 1 out of 3,000. And that his mother was also Rh negative, which, 15%, that isn't extremely unlikely, but whatever. Let me get this straight. You're saying that it is a higher likelihood that the president is a clone of a 3,500-year-old pharaoh. It is more likely that he is a clone of a 3,500-year-old pharaoh than he has an odd blood type. That is your... Which is more likely, folks? Which is more likely? I think I can rest my case here.
So it would kind of make sense that if he was a clone of Akhenaton, well, that would explain why he was Rh negative. Again, I know it sounds really far out, but you got to understand, like, the chance that he would be Rh negative to begin with is really, really remote. And then you look at all this other stuff, the birth certificate, this mysterious pregnancy, no DNA connection to his supposed biological family, and his uncanny resemblance to King Akhenaton and Michelle Obama and the kids too. you have to consider that maybe he really is a clone, and that he was chosen on purpose. It's not a coincidence that he's Rh negative, and that's why he's the president.
More remote than if he was the fucking copy of a pharaoh. Really? Are you listening to what you're saying? And this isn't the dumbest part. We're not there yet, guys. Not there yet. Believe it or not.
And that's not all that's weird about Barack Obama's life. Mars visitors Basiago and Stilling confirmed Barack Obama traveled to Mars. So as they explain here, there's Andrew Basiago, who is a lawyer from Washington, D.C., who served in DARPA's time travel program Project Pegasus in the 1970s. And there's fellow chrononaut William B. Stillings, who was also in the Mars program. And they say that Barack Obama was in that program with them as a teenager, and that he time traveled to Mars.
What the fuck? What? You have to, no, you're Poe. There's no way. There's no way. There's no fucking way you actually believe this shit. No way. No fucking way. That's fucking crazy. That is above and fucking beyond. There's no way. There's no fucking way. How can you believe this shit? There's no way. You actually believe, for one, that people fucking time travel? Like honestly, do you just believe everything you hear? Everything you fucking hear, you just believe. You just believe. Fucking time travelers? Makes perfect fucking sense. People have been to Mars? Makes perfect fucking sense. Just... And that Obama's a clone of fucking Akhenaton? I don't fucking know anymore. This kind of stuff makes me go, huh, I wish there was travel to Mars so I could just go there. Just go there and escape from these people. I don't even know anymore. I don't even know. I don't think this is possible. This isn't fucking possible. I mean, this is crazy. Who actually fucking believes this? Okay, I'm sorry, guys. Time travel hasn't been invented yet. Nobody's been to Mars. And the president is not a clone of a pharaoh. It's not fucking happened. Didn't fucking happen. Sorry. Just didn't fucking happen.
You don't believe it? Well, you know what? I probably wouldn't believe it either if I just heard somebody like, I don't know, me tell them that.
How ironic is it then that you're asking us to believe it from someone like, I don't know, you?
Andrew Basiago and William Stillings. And in my opinion, they're not crazy and they're telling the truth. Andrew Basiago is he's a functional person. He's a lawyer in Washington. He's a well-respected person. He was in the DARPA program.
Okay, so you're telling me I should believe that this guy time traveled and went to Mars with a clone of Akhenaton because he is a functional person and he's a lawyer. Okay, for one, everyone who isn't either in jail or in an insane asylum or in a hospital is a functional person to one degree or another. That's just how it is. You know, even the crazy guy, the world is ending guy at the end of the corner is a functional person, meaning, yeah, he does have cognitive capabilities, he just doesn't use them. I mean, functional guy. And that he's a lawyer, therefore we should trust him. Lawyers make money off of lying to people. That's kind of their job description. So we should believe this guy because he's a good liar, basically, is what you're saying. I rest my case. It's not what you're... I mean, you even admit, He doesn't have any evidence to what he's saying. You just said, yeah, he's alive and he's a lawyer. So we should trust him. That he went to Mars and that he time travels, really, really, that's the best evidence you can come up with. That he time traveled and went to Mars. Oh, and that he was in the DARPA program. What the fuck ever? That doesn't mean jack shit for his claim. If he wants us to believe it, why doesn't he, I don't know, come up with evidence that he actually fucking did it?
And it would kind of make sense that if you were going to resurrect King Akhenaton, you would, you'd probably send him to Mars. He would be a good candidate for something like that.
Yeah, it logically follows that if you somehow raise a pharaoh from the dead, that you would obviously send him to Mars on an expedition. That obviously makes sense. Like, it obviously makes sense that if you have an odd blood type that actually isn't that odd, it's obviously a clone of a 3,500-year-old pharaoh. Obviously.
There's another thing that you might want to know about him. Well, he has this very strange scar on his head that looks like maybe he had brain surgery.
Okay, here you're making a logical fallacy. That what you're saying is he has some kind of line or scar looking thing on his head, therefore he had brain surgery. There's no evidence of it except he has a scar, which could come from many other things. I don't know if you've heard of this, but there's this thing called Occam's razor, which means the simplest explanation is generally the most correct explanation. So either he has a scar on his head because, I don't know, he bumped into something. I mean, hell, you can have a weird-looking part line on the hair on your head from bumping into something. I have a little scar, which really isn't a scar, there's just a bruise there from when I hit my head on my bed frame. It just makes your hair grow parted there. It's not a scar. It could be a scar, but the simplest explanation is generally the most correct one. Asserting that his hair parts weird on his head, or even if he had a scar on his head, it doesn't mean that he had brain surgery. Okay.
I know it's from Weekly World News, but don't let that fool you. See, you probably get more truth from Weekly World News than you get from, like, Fox News or MSNBC. I mean, these tabloids have been telling us for years that Sasquatch is real, aliens are real, the president meets with aliens.
Okay, just because corporate media, like Fox, which lies 99% of the time, and MSNBC, which lies, 40% of the time, doesn't mean that Bigfoot is real, and that there are aliens living on Earth, and that the president meets with aliens. It does not mean that. Just because there are unreliable news sources doesn't mean that anything that isn't corporate news is real news. That's just not what it means.
These papers were telling us the truth all along. It's just they make it look like it's so wacky, and the reputation of the paper is so bad. It's like they're telling you the truth. They're giving it to you in plain sight, but making it look like a lie.
Like I said earlier, just because it's alternative news does not mean that it's accurate news. And trust me, no one has to spin a tabloid to make it look wacky. It does its job by itself. It makes it look wacky by itself, okay? But I mean, that's just, this is like the fantasy world this girl lives in, is that aliens are obviously real, time travel is obviously real, but it's being covered up, which just isn't true. It's not how the world works, okay? Tabloids look dumb because they are dumb.
Looking at all this mountain of evidence, it's kind of hard for me to just say, meh, Obama's probably just a regular guy. I mean, obviously he's not the Antichrist, so, he's probably, nothing else special either. I'm sure he didn't go to Mars, right?
I'm sorry, but that giant mountain of evidence is nothing but horseshit. And crumbles and falls under the weight of how obviously wrong it is. None of that evidence has any kind of scientific validity, any kind of just look at it and think critically. what is more likely? None of it stands up to critical thought. None of it does. And, I mean, is Obama just a regular guy? No. I mean, Obama is just about like every other president we've had. A rich guy that got into power because he stands up with rich people. That's just how our system works. Now, is he the Antichrist? No. Is he a clone of Pharaoh Akhenaton? No. Did he go to Mars with a time traveler? No. That just doesn't make any sense. Now, are there legitimate criticisms of the president? Definitely. If you want good criticism of Obama, like good, accurate criticism of Obama, go to The Young Turks, go to Democracy Now!, go to Alternate, go to The Guardian. There are legitimate criticisms of him. But that he's the Antichrist, or that he's a clone of Pharaoh Akhenaton, or that he's a time-traveling, space-traveling Antichrist? No! That's not... No! Just no! Okay? I think that's all that needs to be said about this. See ya.